It's a big day for the crypto markets. We do, of course, have the FOMC. So we recently saw a bit of a drop in the open interest, a little bit of a flush towards the downside. That's people de-risking ahead of the FOMC. In today's video, I want to talk about what you can expect next, what to look out for. Of course, it seems very probable that the Fed will be cutting interest rates. And the only outcome is if they don't, of course, that's going to absolutely tank markets. And they'll be taken as huge shock, right? A massive shock factor. What we're looking at yesterday is we're looking at the long trade off of the sweep of the Monday low. We got that trade playing out about 80% of the way, almost swept the Monday high. The plan was to flip short from the Monday high, which never got swept. That's on Bitcoin at least. And now you're trading back below the Monday low. We said that that short trade off of the sweep of the Monday high, if we get it, which we didn't, would likely lead to some further downside, specifically on the daily timeframes. And that was due to the low volume environment, which signified that any rallies that occur are probably going to be somewhat of a trap, a bit of a trap environment for a little bit of a deeper correction. But what we're looking at is that that correction leads to a potential higher low into the 50% level or the 0.618, that golden pocket with your FIB retracement tool on Bitcoin. That's what we're going to review today. Of course, the price is pulling back. So that's ultimately what you have to default to now. If you were in whale room, I outlined why you'd be taking 20% profits off at the mid-range on the Monday range trade, and then stops to break even. So there was no losses on any of those trades. And that's just to catch everyone up that missed out on yesterday. So let's get into it, right? Let's go straight into the show content. You can see over here on the dailies, you're getting a bit of a pullback, and that's everything to do with what I outlined was the low volume environment. The hourlies, neutral, right? Kind of just chopping about. Let's quickly see the weeklies. Some coins are holding up on the weeklies, monthlies. A lot of the things are red. Zcash, which has been the trade that we've been long on for quite some time. One of the outliers with 388% up. So that's the market for you. Like, let's get into the stock market, into commodities, more TradFi stuff. Looking at gold, potential that's a major top, right? For gold, big pullback over here. Silver looks even worse in terms of its drawdown. What you really want to pay attention to now on gold is the bounce. If the bounce leads into a lower high, into this inefficiency candle that's going to be situated over here around 4,100, that becomes a high probability short trade. And therefore, you can start to look to fade that down, right? I don't want to call it yet. We'll just see what happens off of the bounce. Silver getting its bounce already. And silver's got a better structural fair value gap that looks a bit more realistic to target, which is going to be this zone over here, 50,048, right? 50.48. You're going to be looking for any sort of a rejection from here, becomes a shorting opportunity. If you recover back above this massive down candle, then probably going higher, and this is just a buy the dip opportunity. So that's silver for you. We've seen the stock markets break out into new all-time highs, and we're still waiting, still seeing. Will crypto follow suit, right? Well, for the S&P 500 futures, we said that you're within 1%, I believe it was. There it is, 1.02% away from hitting that target. Personally, I'd be looking to take profits because it's based off of this trend line, which is where all your previous highs had been set in. So if you do rally into that trend line, breaching just about that 7,000 mark, I think that probably becomes a good zone to take profits. We've been long on this for a very, very, very long time. We keep taking long trades. For any of the new people that have missed out, this has been the most recent one that we gave. So price up 8.63%. Very, very, very good over there. Dow Jones as well, rallying pretty aggressively. This is a massive SR flip region. Long and strong. No need to change that unless you start to take out those lows. QQQ, which is going to be the NASDAQ, also rallying aggressively and fast approaching that target. Is 2.49% away from hitting the 648 level, right? 648 is your 161.8% FIB extension. We've seen a lot of news come out as well for NVIDIA. NVIDIA breaking out. Also, same thing. We've given multiple long trades, and this is looking really, really strong to reach that 211 area. So no changes there. Tesla, long and strong, no changes over there. We can move on to the rest of them. Let's quickly see Robinhood. Also still long and strong over here. I think on this one, you can pretty much eliminate your risk. Don't hold on to too much risk. This one's had a beautiful rally. Maybe give it a little bit of leeway. If you take out that low, maybe you keep a little bit of risk on the table because you could come back into the zone over here. You don't want to get stopped out for nothing. MicroStrategy is the only one that we're holding the short trade on, and I'm going to keep my short on the table. I'm not closing the short. We are marking down. So MicroStrategy tends to top before Bitcoin does. And we spoke about the Adam and Eve pattern that we saw back in 2021 as well as now. I am just going to mention it one more time just because I know there's probably some new people that may have missed out on that. But you can just Google what an Adam and Eve pattern is over here. And you have your Adam and Eve. It's a sharp up move marked with a blow off top, followed by a round over where things start to round. And as you hit this neckline over here, I'm probably not going to close the trade. I said that I'll probably just leave this into there and just eliminate the risk. And I think that eventually that will breach through. And this will be a great, great short trade to cover any long risk that you might have in the crypto markets. And if we go back over here, this is what happened back in 2021, where ultimately you had let's just quickly pull that up again. There you go. Adam and Eve over here. So big rally, blow off top, comes down, rounds over. And once you take out this level, it moves down aggressively towards the downside. And by that point, by the time you do this rounding, this is where Bitcoin topped at 69K, right? In the 2021 cycle. This is where Bitcoin topped at 65K. So you had 65K blow off top on MicroStrategy, 69K round over, or your Adam and Eve rounding over at 69K, and that was the ultimate top. Which, I mean, if this is any kind of an indication as to where we're at, well, that could be an indicator that maybe the top is in for Bitcoin. I think what you need to be looking at for Bitcoin specifically is, with this rally in the stock market breaking out to new all-time highs, if you cannot play catch up, that drastically increases the probabilities and the odds actually that there will be a major top. So that's what we're looking at right here. Is Nasdaq now outperforming Bitcoin year to date, which is crazy, right? It's outperforming it. And therefore, a lot of people just feel it's the worst cycle ever. More than 1,000 days since the BTC cycle bottom. No real alt season has come within this cycle. You've only had some action in late 2024, which I must say we nailed. That was the meme coin season. We nailed that all of 2024. Altcoin slowly bleeding out during 2025. Biggest liquidation events ever. Pessimism and fear of a bear market being around the corner. And as the tweet says over here from 𝗏𝗏𝗏, worst bull market in history or the biggest trap ever seen? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? If you think this is the biggest, this is the worst bull market in history and it's over, put a 1 in the chat. If you think this is going to be the biggest trap ever and we're going to see some sort of glory days in recovery, put a number 2 in the chat. So 1 if you think it's over, worst bull market ever, a 2 in the chat. Let's quickly tally those up, see how you guys feel generally speaking. But it's not always terrible everywhere, right? We are trading the market very well when it comes to the TradFi as well. You can see over here in Whale Room as well, full TP on Larsen and Turbo Limited. I have absolutely no idea what that stock is, but you can see it was dropped over here by one of our traders previously in the Discord. Here it is. Big long trade over there. So completely out of that trade. For those of you that want to trade other things, we do trade that in Whale Room, right? Let's go and look at the crypto markets. Still relatively balanced, kind of expected leading into the FOMC. You think a lot of people are going to de-risk over here. The fear and greed at 50, so still in that doubt zone. Very muted total liquidation, sitting under 270 million. And the daily exchange volume is still trying to turn a corner, but it just can't get there. Maybe today will be the day that this actually spikes back towards the upside. I would expect a bit of volatility, right? There will be volatility, which will most likely affect this, but it's just whether the interest rate cut met by a positive speech by Jerome Powell. And also I think that Trump is meeting with the president of China. If there's some sort of positivity that comes out of that, maybe that will be enough to snap this back towards the upside. But just know this, if this is trending towards the downside, it's going to be incredibly difficult for your favorite altcoins to run, right? For any of you, I don't think that I have an altcoin heavy audience, by the way. I think that most of you are much more conservative and into large caps and BTC and a couple of stocks. But if you are out there and you're very into altcoins, right, you just know you're going to have a really difficult time. The last time that we saw a decent uptrend over here, and let's just go back, was in 2024. So look at that period over here that led towards that upside. That was essentially what this guy's talking about, where he said no real alt season, just some altcoin action in late 2024. That's what caused that altcoin action. So we need to see much greater markups. Look at what happened in 2021. and you expect that the market cap gets bigger and bigger for the overall cycles, and therefore we need much, much higher. You probably need to start to target on this fib extension over here. Let's just quickly go. You probably need to hit around this 2.618 and the 3.618 on your total market cap and to actually get a meaningful rally within the altcoin. So that will allow for, so you need this, probably consolidate, and then you need some sort of an extension either here or here to actually get altcoins really, really running and that daily exchange volume moving up. And it's just become a more and more difficult game. So as there is merit in what he's saying over here, that worst bull market in history, because there's too many coins on the market. That's why. This is why it's felt so terrible for many people, is because they are used to making life-changing wealth within the altcoin sector, and they wanted to come back for that again, and they haven't been provided with that taste or satisfaction that they previously got, and they won't. It's not going to happen. I can tell you guys that for sure, because there's too many coins. Like, there's just no way you can buy an index fund of cryptos and experience the 2017, 2021 gains. I just don't see it happening. So therefore, still best to remain Bitcoin heavy. Arguably, maybe you can still have some sort of exposure in Ethereum, because the ETH-BTC chart is still attempting to bounce out of here on the high timeframes. We can look at it on the lower timeframes as well in a moment, but it is still working on that, right? I also thought about this. One reason that a lot of the on-chain metrics may not fire off. Remember, there's all these indicators. I think we actually even have it on the site over here. Let me just scroll to the bottom. Here it is. Wait, not that one over here. Here it is, right? These are all bull market peak indicators that are based off of on-chain metrics, things like overextensions from the mean, Puel multiples, Bitcoin rainbow chart, MV/RV z-score. That's on-chain kind of stuff. And there, NUPL, net unrealized profit and loss. It looks at on-chain are the majority of people in profit or loss. And when that gets heavily skewed and everybody's in profit, then you know that these things start to fire. And as you can see, it says hit or miss. Miss, 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 miss. Okay. I thought maybe one reason for this can possibly be because the ETFs have absorbed so much of the interest. Even OGs within the space that may have previously traded on chain have moved their capital into brokerage accounts for safety, or gone through ETFs and purchased the ETF. So maybe those on-chain metrics are never going to fire off at those extremes that we previously saw. Something to think about. Let me know in the comments if you have any other thoughts around that, or if you see it a different way. But therefore, don't get caught off guard by looking at these kind of things like the Puel multiple, the MV/RV z-score, and waiting for those. We'll continue to monitor the ETF flows. I think that will be a better indicator as where to things go next. So we're still in this very, very, very tight trading range. And of course, we do have a monthly candle that's approaching its end as per the comment section. If you go over there, how will this monthly candle close? Please go vote there. Only about half of you or less than half of you have voted. Is it going to close green, red, neutral, or you special? That's for the people from yesterday's show. If you watched yesterday, you just if you're special, just vote that one over there on the end. Otherwise, let me know. How do you think October is going to close, right? It only requires a marginally higher price to actually close green. So I don't mean full bull green, like it doesn't need to close at 126K, but this is a pretty wide range. What this tells you is that the next move truly is going to be absolutely explosive. And you have a high and a low, and this is going to become vitally important going forward, right? You want to probably mark those levels out. You have your high and your low of the month. This monthly high and low is going to be vitally important because you have a massive range over here. And we can see on the weekly time frame as well, big, big, big move brewing, right? Big move brewing. This is still in contraction phase. It's only just begun to expand. The real expansion will take place when you have a confirmed weekly candle close outside of this trading range. And then you know that's the real directional move, which means this truly the next move has the propensity to send Bitcoin almost to $200,000 or potentially all the way down into bear market territory where it's kind of all over. So therefore, we've been saying this for a long time. Remember, the longer the contraction as well, the bigger the move. I wonder what's going to happen. I truly, truly wonder when you look at this, like oftentimes you'll get a shakeout, a fake out, shakeout, fake out, whatever you want to call it, but basically a move beyond one side of the trading range before then putting in the real move. So very, very, very interesting. Keep an eye on this. So don't necessarily like panic too much if you're on the wrong side of the trade, because you may fake out or shake out like that, recover, and then put in the real move. Or alternatively, if you run the highs like that and that fails, pay attention that may be the false move. Essentially what I'm saying is when you leave this trading range the next time, there's a good chance that it could be a false break of either the bottom or the top of the trading range. So we're still waiting for that big move. Benefit of the doubt goes to the bulls as long as they remain above the yellow line over there. It is the 21 EMA 21 exponential moving average. It's still moving towards the upside. So there is some hope here. If you can, of course, break those stop and reversal indicators, the little asterisk signs, that will be really good for bulls. This is still resetting. No new updates over there. We're on the TD sequential 9 top, which means 1 to 4 candle correction. And that's where I opened the show, right? I opened the video today saying that, well, now you're going to be assessing to see, will that pullback find support over here and create the high low? That's the hopeful case, right? And I think that it's a biddable zone. I do think it's a biddable zone. By biddable, I mean buy, right? You guys know the saying, bid or buy, bid or buy. So it's a biddable zone. If price comes down into this area, you have a defined stop loss, which is going to be below that low, and you don't want to see price really trading below there. So you want to pay attention into the yellow box area. Why is the yellow box over here? Because this is still within your bear moon phase, which we know how well those moon phases work. And you're going to get your next bull moon on the 4th of November, which means any low that prints over here, I believe, is going to be a buy zone before the pendulum swings in the bull's favor to attempt higher prices. Now, I don't know what comes next, but we're trading at one step at a time, right? The one step at a time means try buy the dip over here between $108,000 and $109,000 for a high low, and then we play the next step, which would be a move from here to here, and then we'll see, can you get above that or not? That's what we're looking at. That's still the plan. No changes over there. There is a lot of support here, to be very clear. You have the support in the form of firstly, a lot of people have invalidations there, which means they'll defend price at this zone, similar to what I'm saying. So I think there will be buying pressure here. You have your 50% level, your golden pocket, your 200 MA, your 200 EMA. It's clustered with support. There's a lot of support over there. Alrighty. Rejected off of here, low volume. That was your warning sign. We did speak a lot about that. See those candles, see that volume. See that volume's lower, see that volume's lower. Therefore, all of the rallies are a warning sign, but that's okay. The pullback is where you want to pay attention. So when you get that pullback, watch out for potential support, right? Because this is still a very, very, very key level in the form of previous resistance, 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 support that led to the upside move, support, support, and therefore support. This is a key level. Losing this will be catastrophic. At that point, you have to entertain that maybe it's actually all over. You have to shift your bias more aggressively to it's all over if you break below this yellow box over here, which we haven't done yet. You have a little bit of liquidity just below current price action. Current price action is trading at just under 113,000, and your liquidity is at about 111,000, right? Okay, still support over here, and this is the real thing that you want to see broken down. Let's quickly go on the 12-hour and just want to see something over here. It's a bit sloppy, not much to comment. Daily is more important to me. So I'm still treating this as support on the USDT dominance. I'm going to give it a few more days, but we're going to raise the bar very, very, very soon. So for now, in order to get higher time frame bullish, I personally still want to see this level taken out. If we continue to hover around up here, I'll eventually move this below that candle that occurred on Monday. Monday's low. Monday's low would be the level to take out then for USDT dominance. So you're still waiting for a big drop. You need that big drop to really kick things off and get things going. Guys, I know it's hard. We're still trading the market. It has been difficult. Even tweets like this really summarize that, right? The sentiment around the market, that's how people feel. But just know we are still taking a lot of trades, right? Huge profits over here. Chris giving an absolutely wonderful trade on pump. I'm also long on pump over here on the bots up 100% over there. So this is dropped in well room. If any of you want to join, you're going to have your opportunity now this month because prices will be raised, right? There is going to be an increase in the prices. I just want to forewarn you of that. And we're also going to cap it. So we do update you guys with all of the trades over here. This is not for everyone, but if you want to take your trading to the next level and you ultimately want to be part of, I guess, a more elite group of traders, that's the place to do it, right? And you can lock in the prices for a year as well. There'll be a special that's coming up. So pay attention for that. Pay attention for that. Alrighty, let's move on. So we'll go into a couple of the other altcoins. I wanted to look at ASTER over here because I also have that trade on, and it's been one of the bigger positions, up 414%. We got in pretty early. And in terms of dollar amount, well, it's $3,000, which is a decent amount. So I've considered maybe closing that just simply for the reason that I do think that there's a very high likelihood that this is going to come all the way back down here. I can see also just at eye value maybe that there's a bit of a falling wedge that's developing over here. So I just want to quickly take a look at this. Let's just see if that matches up more or less. So maybe you'll find a little bit of support coming into the bottom of this trend. But I'm not a fan of double bottoms. So on ASTER, if you do actually come back for that low, 93 cents, and you end up losing that, then I think you're coming deeper into this box over here. Okay, let's see. What else? Okay. Let me check your guys. Chris does 75x on leverage. Absolutely. Sometimes. I mean, it's all within the risk parameters, by the way, guys. Yeah, that is 75x leverage. But it's all within the risk parameters. Remember that the leverage is just a tool, right? Leverage slider is just a tool. Like, it's more about your position size. You have to come to Whale School if you don't understand that. We'll make it make sense for you over there. Alrighty, cool. Let's move on. What else do we have? So just updating on the Zcash trade over here. It's really struggling under the Monday low. So it attempted to recover, started to break back below. I told you if it starts to gain acceptance underneath, there's a chance that I will potentially cut that. Let's go from the low. If you measure from the low over here, and we want to look where that 50% level is situated. So let's just change the fib onto the 50% level. There it is. All right, there we go. So these are, you're kind of caught between support and resistance. A little bit of a no trade zone, but you're going to have to make a decision if this begins to break below 300. You don't want to give up all those profits. And this was a very, very, very low risk trade, right? As a risk to reward ratio, this was a 17-1. And even if we lower it and say that you stop out the majority of the trade under the 50% level, well, even that puts it at a 4.5-1 risk reward ratio. So there should be absolutely no loss over here. And you can totally eliminate your risk on this trade, and you should. And we've been taking incremental profits along the way. I will update everybody as well in Whale Room to let you know if I'm going to change anything over here. But there's a chance that I'll close this because I don't want to go into FOMC really holding any positions with swings in the volatility that could end up, taking me out. I don't think you're going to get a wick all the way down here, but I don't really want it to wick down here, get stuck here, and then I'm basically leaving money on the table. So maybe I've closed 40%. Maybe I'll close another 40% and just leave like 20% on the table. Okay. All right, guys. Let's go through the rest. Maybe you have particular requests that you want to go through. Whale Room tattoo Aptos set for November pump. I'm not sure what that means, but if that means you're getting a Whale Room tattoo, I don't advise that. Remember, some of you may even be watching that went and got gummy tattoos. I think that stuff's insane, guys. I would never encourage anybody to do that. I would actually discourage you to do that. Do not do that stuff. Okay, please do not do that stuff. Look, if you have 90% of your body tattooed, I guess what does it matter if you're putting on another 0.1% on your body, whatever. But if you have zero tattoos, to go for like a Whale Room tattoo or a gummy tattoo or any of these things is absolutely insane. Okay, cool. We're going to go through a couple of coins over here. I actually want to first start off just looking at the majors. We're working on the daily time frame, so let's get back onto the daily. Also, with that being said, I do want to mention the daily very, very, very quickly. We'll go into this one as well. So if we look at the momentum oscillators on the daily, they are starting to roll over. You're getting your red dots. This is also part of the reason why I'd want to start to be a little bit cautious. So BTC is still looking okay. ETH, red dots already. XRP, still looking okay. Solana, still looking okay. Sui, not great. Red dots over there. Sonic, just, I wonder where all these sellers are still coming from. Like, you would think this thing's sold out by now, but still red dot. Say, red dot. Cardano, red dot, still coming down. AVAX, red dot, still coming down. TON, neutral. Casper, neutral. Tron actually got a green dot over there. I'm looking at it without the price chart for now, just to quickly check this. Pump still looks strong, right? Still moving towards the upside. Aster, red dots over here, but we don't have that much price history. Hype, still looking strong actually towards the upside. Apex could potentially become good over here in terms of if you're just analyzing the momentum oscillator. Money wave moving up. VWAP probably going to turn back towards the upside over there. All right, let's go. Ondo, still down. BNB, still down over there. BGB still down. I think that's majority. Okay, let's get into the actual price charts over here. Starting with, let's go to ETH. Alrighty. So ETH, I have taken this. The trade that I've taken over here is, this was initially where we were looking at it, but I am actually still in profit because it's hardly. Okay, actually was in profit, hardly in profit, but 0.5% down. So this is essentially the trade scaling into the position as per this. And I'll just go on the weekly to show it to you a bit better. Our theory is that if there is bullish hopium that's alive, this is ultimately going to be where your high low begins to develop, and we shouldn't take out that low. There's no way we should take out that low. If you take out that low, there's big trouble, especially on a closing basis. Then it's, of course, going deeper down, maybe into this trend line, like as low as like 2,200 to 2,800-ish region for ETH. So that's one that I'm still keeping an eye on. Let's quickly look at the weeklies as well for the rest of them. We have XRP over here. XRP bulls, you're going to be looking to get above $3 to get into a position of strength. Otherwise, it's going to struggle. Solana, it needs time. I closed my Solana position. It is at mid-range. It is holding the trendline support, but I closed it because it spent a lot of time over here, and I just need more structural foundation to develop, which is going to take a while longer, right? I need to see this chop about. So that's my thoughts on Solana. We can look at it on the daily, though. The daily looks okay. The daily looks okay. Again, I just expect a bit more chop, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more wicks in the following weeks come down to like 177 over there. So that's my thoughts on the daily. SUI, you know, this has broken this trend line. It's not great. I would rather buy into this with a position of strength. This could come all the way back down into the yellow box over here, which is going to be clean and major support at 195. And we can look at the daily. If you look at the daily, it's telling more of a story that it's very likely this is going to move back down here to about 197. That's, in my opinion, that's what I'm seeing. Okay, say all the way back down at the bottom, failed to break out from this trend line on the weekly scale. We can look at it on the daily. Also, it needs time. I wouldn't long this unless it broke out with strength, right? So I want to see a break of this trend line. I'd want to see structure begin to develop and for this thing to start to look healthier. And the only way that's going to happen is with a bit more time. That's why I wouldn't be in any rush to get into any of these altcoins. Honestly, there's no rush. It's just extremely unlikely that it's going to V-shape. And your favorite Twitter account or influencer may tell you, but we're going into quantitative easing, so it's going to happen. I would just wait. I would just wait patiently. The charts don't look like that to me. And even if you did put in some kind of a guard candle, like let's just say something like that happened, you put in some sort of a guard candle, which is just what is the probability? It's like almost as close to 0% as you can possibly go. You'd do that. And then you would still anyway retrace the majority of this. I'm telling you now, you'd retrace the majority. Let's use one example like Giggles, right? This is a good example. This was a guard candle basically for Giggles. And what has it done? Full retrace all the way back down into the range breakout area. Therefore, you're only buying a little bit higher but you get confirmation, which confirmation is insurance that you're not going to lose all of your money. Okay, so yeah, TON looks very weak to me. It has a lot of work to do. It has to get above 290. I don't know why anyone would hold that. Casper, we know there's a strong Casper community out there, but also this needs a lot of time. You are at major support. This is very, very, very significant, but it needs time. It's going to have to chop about here for quite a while. And only when it gets above like 0.075, the breakdown area, does it start to look better. On the daily, this looks incredibly weak. It was one of the coins that we actually initiated a short trade on. The short trade idea was there with stops above. So this would still be in profit. And this still on the daily, it looks weak. The weekly, let's just see over here. I mean, it doesn't look great to me, despite the fact that what we just showed you on the momentum oscillator looks okay. Doesn't look great. Thank goodness we closed this with a very, very, very small loss. We closed this trade on the Pinex spot up here. It's come all the way back down. I think this could easily sweep back to 33. Okay, pump. Let's have a look at pump. Daily. Still looks okay. Look, I think it will really struggle to get above this area over here. Even if you run up over here, I think this becomes a profit-taking environment. So, I mean, I should probably consider taking like 50% off on this already. This is underside resistance where you're currently situated, but it's got relative strength against the rest of the market. So I'll maybe give it a bit of breathing room for a few more days. Okay, what else? What are the most compelling holdings? Okay, I think Bitcoin and ETH. Those are the most compelling holdings. So right now on the Pinex spots, that's the only positions I really have. BTC, ETH, I have Pump, and I have ASTER. But ASTER is just because I got in so early. All right, so those are the main ones. Those are the main ones. Guys, they have a big sign-up bonus, by the way. If you want to join FOMC, if you haven't already, just look below. This is pretty nice. Net deposit of $1,000, and you're basically getting $300. You do have to trade and get volume, which is very easy. I've shown on the Gravity exchange, you know, just how that perpetual DEX, $800 already into like 60,000 of volume off of 2 trades, Bitcoin and Zcash. That's the only trades that we took. So if you sign up to FOMC using the link below, deposit $1,000, take a few trades over there on futures, and you'll get $300 for free. Anyone that wants a bonus, just putting it out there. They are tier 1 exchange, and that is available for 25 more days. 25 more days for you. All right. Tau, we can have a look at Tau. I think we looked at that yesterday, but we can go back to it. Let's just see. So this is a profit-taking area, in my opinion, because you're at mid-range. You're at mid-range over here, and the market's going into a high-impact economic day today, of course, which is going to drive volatility. You don't have much to lose, because if you were long on this and you sold here, and today pumps, I can almost guarantee you're going to throw back anyway into this area, which means you can just re-enter at the same place. So if you have been long on Tau and you rode it up into the mid-range, I would personally be closing my positions over here. There's no need to hold, right? You've made the money. If you took it from here up from range low, if you had some sneaky bids over there, this is your profit-taking environment. kusama. Is kusama even alive? I haven't even heard this name since maybe it was like 2021. I'll look it up, but like I can almost guarantee this chart's going to be completely dead. Let's just quickly prep something over here for you guys. Hold on. Okay, we got it. We're ready. Are you guys ready? Wait, let's quickly go into the weekly and let's just get ready for kusama. Okay, let's go over here. Kusama. Which one are we going to use? USDT. Okay, X, so we're going to use this one. This is not even going to be the right one. But either way, it still makes the cut.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Moment of silence for Kusama. We can look at it over here as well. KSM. I'm sure it's this one. There's Kusama. Guys, I mean, there's Kusama. This thing needs more than just the brother prayer. This needs a lot more. This needs holy water and I don't know what else. This needs everyone's prayers. It's over. Kusama is down 98.4%. 3-month chart, look at that. Absolutely unreal. Yeah, there's zero buys here. This is market makers obviously getting price back into unison. But anyways, yeah, that's Kusama. So I would not be bullish on Kusama if I were you. So guys, unfortunately, this is the reality of crypto. That's what I told you, because there's too many coins. There is, I mean, if you just look at the listed coins over here, that's 19,372 coins on CoinGecko. And of course, they're not even reporting all the coins. Am I still holding Goku? Yes, I still have Goku, but that's not because I think it's on a moon mission. That is just because it's not worth me selling. And then people find that I sold in the wallets and the backlash. So I just hold, right? I got in like very, very, very low market cap. Probably, I'm sure I got in like $100,000 market cap. So my entry is safe, but I won't sell unless it goes over a massive market cap. Like it has to basically reach exit liquidity and some kind of mainstream adoption. And I go into these kind of low cap things like that with that mentality that I put in money that's money for jam, as they say, right? Like money that I can afford to lose, just chuck it in, leave it, forget about it, set it and forget. If it works out and you make millions off it, great, then you can take profit. If not, I just leave it. So I do have that. I have all those Goku tokens. Look, if we get a bit of a rally, if there is some sort of an altcoin season, which is going to be met by this, right? We have to look at things like this. Total 3 measured against BTC. If we get a leg like this, Goku will fly. And a lot of these coins will come back. You need that or that. This is the only grace we've been granted. That was our alt season. How sad is that? Compared to this or compared to this. Alrighty, so there hasn't been much. There hasn't been much. All right, guys, that's it from me. I'll see you all on the next one. Remember, if you want to lock in prices on 𝗲𝗏, wait for the big special. There's going to be a big promotion that's going to be coming up, and you'll be locked in at that rate. So any price rises that occur, we're also going to lock the 𝗲𝗏. We want to have a tight-knit community, into the next cycle. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day, and cheers for now.